Obom was a quiet village nestled near the sacred hills of Gongola. The land was blessed with deep wells, thick forests, and age-old traditions passed down around the fireside. Life in Obom moved slowly. Children ran barefoot through dusty paths, women hummed as they pounded yam, and men returned from their farms at sunset, their laughter echoing through the valley. But lately the village had fallen silent. It began 3 moons ago. A girl named Kauna, only 20, was found lifeless beneath a sacred mango tree near the edge of the village. Her eyes were wide open, her skin pale, and her neck bore 2 distinct puncture wounds. The elders whispered it was a snake bite, but there were no tracks, no signs of struggle, only the strange marks and a chilling stillness in her body. At first, the villagers mourned and moved on. Then it happened again, and again. Each time the same. A young woman found dead under the same tree, her beauty gone cold, her neck pierced by invisible fangs. Panic settled like morning mist. Mothers began locking their daughters indoors after sunset. Songs stopped, laughter faded. Even Chief Dan Lamy, the oldest and most respected elder, could not calm the rising fear. He called the hunters, the herbalists, even messengers from the neighboring villages. But no one found anything. Not even a single snake. The women no longer walked the footpath alone, especially near the mango tree, and yet the deaths continued. One evening, as a storm gathered in the hills, a new face appeared in Obom. She walked into the village with nothing but a leather bag, a headscarf, and a silent strength. Her name was Amara, and she said she had come to visit her aunt, Mama Uduak. The villagers welcomed her politely, but in hushed tones they asked, "Who travels into a cursed village when others are fleeing?" They didn't know that Amara was not just a visitor. She was a woman with a mission, one that was born the day her best friend Nene died beneath a tree just like the one in Obom. Amara didn't come for rest, she came for truth and revenge. Every morning in Obom began with the sound of mortar and pestle. But on this morning, Amara stood at the well, her hands calmly wrapped around a clay pot, listening. Villagers gossiped around her, eyes shifting from fear to flirtation as a figure approached. Jelani. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and moved like a man with no worries. His skin glistened with the color of roasted cola, and his smile, that smile, could melt a woman's resolve like butter on hot yam. He was a builder by trade, but no one had ever seen him carry more than a chisel. His presence was enough payment. Girls giggled when he passed. Mothers warned their daughters with nervous eyes. Yet none could resist the spell Jelani carried. Except Amara. When he strolled past the well that morning and locked eyes with her, Amara didn't blink. She didn't blush. She didn't even flinch. Jelani was taken aback. "New face," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "Obom welcomes beauty like yours." Amara nodded slightly. "Thank you. I'm here to see my aunt." That was all. She picked up her pot and walked away, leaving Jelani blinking in confusion. For the first time in his life, his charm had failed. And that made Amara unforgettable. From that moment, Jelani became obsessed. So, he watched her at the market. He followed her footsteps to Mama Uduak's farm. He offered to carry her basket, fetch her water, even fix a door that wasn't broken. But Amara remained calm, kind, and just distant enough to keep him guessing. At night, she would sit outside the hut, gazing at the Obom hills, clutching the small cloth bag that held the sacred flute she had received from Mama Uaraka, the river priestess. The woman had warned her, "He will come like honey, but hide a fang. Let him believe he is winning. Then strike, not with anger, but with justice." And so Amara let the dance begin. She would not run from Jelani. She would lure him as he had lured many others. Not out of weakness, but strategy. The predator did not know he had become the prey. The days passed, and Jelani's pursuit deepened. He changed his tactics, less bold, more subtle. He stopped calling out her name in the market. He no longer followed her so obviously. Instead, he watched her with patient eyes, like a panther waiting for a deer to lower its guard. And slowly Amara allowed it. She smiled back once, just enough to spark his hope. She greeted him in public, short, polite hellos that lingered like perfume. It was a performance, one she hated playing, but she remembered Nene's laughter. Her best friend, so full of life, now buried beneath red earth with bite marks no one could explain. This was for her. One afternoon as the sun dropped low, Amara passed by the mango tree, the same tree where the last body had been found. Jelani was waiting, arms folded, face calm. The breeze stirred his shirt gently, and his voice was softer than before. "You've been avoiding me," he said. Amara stopped. "I don't avoid people. I just mind my steps." He chuckled. "That's smart, but sometimes watching too closely makes you miss the magic." She raised an eyebrow. "And what magic do you offer, Jelani?" His smile widened. "Come to my hut. Let's sit, talk. I'll show you." Amara paused. This was it. She nodded slowly. Tonight. As she walked away, Jelani stared after her, his eyes gleaming with hunger. Not of the heart, but of something darker. Something ancient and reptilian. That evening, she bathed in silence. She wore a simple wrapper and hid the flute beneath its fold close to her waist. She had rehearsed the moment 1,000 times in her mind. If she got it wrong, she'd end up like Nene. When she arrived, Jelani welcomed her with a candlelit grin. His hut was clean, too clean. The mat was smooth, the lamp burned steadily. But beneath the warmth, Amara felt it. The air was wrong. Too still, too silent. He offered her palm wine. She sipped slowly, her other hand on the flute. They spoke, small talk, childhood stories, laughter that didn't reach her eyes. Then he leaned in and asked, "Do you know the difference between a man's manhood and a snake?" The room darkened with his smile. Amara exhaled. It was time. Amara held her breath as Jelani's words lingered like poison in the air. "Do you know the difference between a man's manhood and a snake?" She said nothing. Instead, she stared into his eyes, steady and unblinking. Jelani grinned wider. The air grew thick. Then he whistled. It was soft, like wind through hollow bone, but the sound slithered through the room, unnatural and eerie. Shadows shifted, the flickering lamp dimmed, and a cold breeze swept through the hut. Then it happened. From beneath his wrapper, something dark began to move. Slowly, a slender black serpent slithered out, its scales glistening like oil under the lamp's dying light. Its eyes were red, its tongue flickering like fire. It coiled toward Amara's legs, hissing softly as it climbed up her thigh. She felt the cold of death crawling on her skin. Jelani leaned back, watching with calm satisfaction. "Don't fight it," he whispered. "It'll be quick." But Amara didn't scream. Instead, she moved slowly, her fingers slipping beneath her wrapper, pulling out the silver flute, the one given to her by Mama Uwaraka, carved from the bone of a river python, blessed by moonlight and blood. She placed it gently on her lips and blew. The sound that emerged was sharp, shrill, and filled the room with invisible power. It wasn't a tune, it was a call, a command. The snake froze. Its red eyes flicked from Amara to Jelani. She blew again, longer this time, more forceful. The serpent hissed loudly and recoiled from her skin. Jelani's smile vanished. He leapt to his feet, shouting, "What have you done?" But it was too late. The snake turned on him. "No!" Jelani shouted, stepping back. "Obey me! I summoned you!" The snake ignored him. It lunged, its coils wrapped around his waist, then his chest, squeezing tight. Jelani screamed as the serpent's fangs hovered over his throat. Amara stood. Her face was calm, but her voice was thunder. "This is for Nene, for Kauna, for every woman you lured with lies." The snake struck. Jelani's cry was short. His body twitched, then stilled. Venom raced through his veins, the same way it had through his victims. He collapsed, lifeless. The serpent uncoiled, hissed once, and slithered into the darkness. Amara blew the flute one last time. Silence. Then she walked out into the night. Dawn broke over Obom with an uneasy quiet. The sky was streaked with gold, but something in the air felt different, as though the hills themselves were holding their breath. Villagers began to stir. A goat bleated. A pot clanged. And then a scream. It came from a child fetching firewood near the sacred mango tree. Moments later, the entire village gathered. What they saw froze their voices. Jelani's body, cold and stiff, lay sprawled in the dust. His once perfect face was twisted in horror. Beside him, a black serpent, severed at the head, its eyes glazed, its mouth slightly open. People gasped. Women covered their mouths. Chief Danlami pushed through the crowd, his face pale. "Who did this?" he whispered. "What happened?" Then, footsteps. Amara stepped into the square, her wrapper blowing gently in the breeze. Her head held high, her eyes steady. In one hand she carried the silver flute, in the other a folded cloth with bite-marked beads, tokens from the women who had died. "I did," she said. The murmurs began immediately. Shock, confusion, awe. Amara raised her voice. "I came to Obom not just to visit my aunt, but to end a curse. Jelani was no ordinary man. He was possessed, bonded to a spirit serpent he used to seduce and kill. My friend Nene was one of his victims. Many of your daughters were almost his." She pointed at the flute. "This was given to me by Mama Uaraka, the river priestess. It can command spirits. Last night I used it to expose the monster hiding behind that smile." Chief Danlami lowered his head. "You were sent to deliver us." "No," Amara said softly. "I came because I love someone he took. The rest, the gods allowed me to finish." Silence swept the square. Women began to cry, not just from fear, but from grief, from release. Mothers held their daughters. Wives touched their throats. Men bowed their heads in shame, having admired a man who had brought such silent death. Then someone started to clap. Slowly. Then others joined. The square thundered with applause, not of celebration, but of honor. Amara bowed once, turned, and walked away, leaving behind a village that would never be the same. Long before Amara set foot in Obom, her world had shattered. Nene had been her sister in everything but blood. They grew up chasing butterflies, braiding each other's hair, and dreaming of futures filled with joy and love. Then came the letter, short and strange. Nene wrote of a man who made her feel like the only woman on earth. She didn't name him, only said, "He is beautiful, Amara, but sometimes I feel like I'm being watched, even when I'm with him." 2 weeks later, Nene was found dead beneath a mango tree in a village across the hills. The same bite marks, the same stillness, the same mystery. Amara screamed into the wind that night, but grief wasn't enough. She needed answers. So she journeyed to River Jalo, a sacred place whispered about in her grandmother's tales. There, among weeping bamboos and singing frogs, lived Mama Uaraka, the blind priestess who could hear spirits speak. Amara waited at the riverbank until the woman emerged, draped in white, her eyes clouded like a rising storm. "You've come because death has touched you," Mama Uaraka said without being told. Amara nodded, tears in her eyes. "It wasn't an animal. Something used beauty to destroy your friend. A man. No, not a man. Something hiding in a man's skin." She led Amara into her shrine, dark and wet with the smell of herbs and secrets. There she spoke of the ancient ritual of seduction, a forbidden practice once buried beneath the Obom hills. The ritual promised irresistible charm, but at a terrible price. "Each time he beds a woman," Mama Uaraka said, "the snake hidden in him feeds. His beauty grows, but her soul fades." Amara trembled. "Can it be stopped?" The priestess nodded slowly and reached into a clay pot. From it, she drew a small silver flute, carved from the rib bone of a river python and soaked in moonlight. "This will bind the serpent to your will, but only once. Use it wisely. You must let him believe he's winning. You must become his mirror." Amara accepted the flute with both hands, heart pounding. She didn't know how yet, but she vowed that day, Nene will not die in vain. After the crowd dispersed and the whispers settled into silence, Amara didn't stay in Obom. She had done what she came to do. Before dawn the next day, she slipped away through the narrow footpath that led to River Jalo, the place where her journey had begun. The silver flute hung around her neck, wrapped in cloth. It was no longer buzzing with power. Its work was done. By mid-morning, she reached the bank. Mist danced above the water. Birds chirped like they were telling old secrets. The bamboo trees bent slightly, as though greeting her. Mama Uaraka was already there, sitting on a mat, her blind eyes open, staring at nothing and everything. "You've returned," she said. Amara nodded and placed the flute gently on the mat. "The snake is dead," Amara whispered. "Jelani is gone." The old woman didn't smile. Instead, she reached out and touched Amara's wrist, fingers cold but steady. "You have done what no one else dared, but it is not only about vengeance." Amara looked up. "The serpent inside Jelani was just one form of evil," Mama Uaraka said. "There will be others. Some wear beauty like a mask. Others hide behind power, money, or even kindness. But you have something rare, clarity." She turned toward the river. "The spirits have seen your heart." Suddenly the river stirred. The water shimmered, and from its center rose a glowing orb, a ripple of light spinning slowly above the waves. Inside it, Amara saw Nene's face, smiling, radiant, free. Tears welled in her eyes. "She's at peace now," Mama Uaraka whispered. Then, just as quickly, the vision vanished. The river calmed. Amara bowed deeply. "Go," the priestess said. "You are no longer just a daughter of men. You are a daughter of justice, and your story will walk ahead of you, long before your feet arrive." With that, Amara turned and walked away, the wind lifting her wrapper, the earth quiet beneath her. She was no longer just a mourner. She was a legend in the making. Years passed. The village of Obom slowly returned to life. The well sang again with laughter, the markets bustled, and under the sacred mango tree, girls once more sat to plait hair and tell stories, though one story always silenced the air. The story of Jelani, the man with the golden smile and a serpent beneath his skin, and the woman who ended him. Amara's name became sacred. Children were named after her. Elders invoked her courage when blessing their daughters. Young men learned to look beyond beauty, to judge a man not by his face, but by his deeds. The mango tree, where the bodies were once found, it now bore a small clay statue, a woman holding a flute, standing tall with calm eyes and bare feet rooted in truth. Beneath it were the names of the lost women, Nene, Kauna, Lady, Fatima, Zulay, carved gently into stone, so they would never again be forgotten. And the flute? It was said that Mama Uaraka returned it to the river, where it sang softly beneath the water during the full moon. Some say it still waits there, guarded by spirits, waiting, in case the serpent ever returns in another form. As for Amara, no one knew where she went after her return from River Jalo. Some said she became a spirit herself, walking unseen between villages, watching, protecting. Others claimed she settled in a far-off town, married a quiet man, and raised children who feared no lies. But everyone agreed on one thing: Amara was not ordinary. She was a mirror to evil, a blade of truth, a whisper of justice on the wind. And when young girls in Obom asked their mothers, "Mama, how will I know who to trust?" they would sit under the mango tree, hold their daughters close and say, "When the snake comes again, may you have the flute of Amara."